Thanks for checking out this movie review video. This is for the 2021 film Candyman. Yes, this is the remake? Not quite. I mean, it's not really a spoiler. It's not really a remake. They do tie it into the original film. I thought they did a pretty decent job of tying it into the original film. Initially, I thought it was literally going to be a remake, and in which case I would say it doesn't play as well as a remake. It certainly plays much better as its own film, obviously tied into the franchise of the films. Now, that said, do I feel like they really needed this film? Probably not. Do I like the original Candyman better? Way better, yes, definitely. And if you are interested, I do have a very in-depth, I think quite good review video on my channel for the original Candyman. So anyway, this is one that I've heard a lot about. People hate it, people love it. I'm kind of more in-betweenish, a little bit closer to not liking it, to be honest. But I'll tell you why. I'll go over what I did like and what I didn't like. Directed by Nia DaCosta, who also did Little Woods and Top Boy, which I have not seen. Written by DaCosta as well as Jordan Peele, who obviously did things like Us, Get Out, and the new film coming out, Nope, which I will definitely see because Jordan Peele has done some very nice stuff. And also Win Rosenfeld, who did one episode of the newer Twilight Zone series. That's about all I know. Originally, Jordan Peele apparently was going to direct this film, but then ended up pivoting to a producer role. Not sure why. I didn't get the backstory on that, but hey, I will say DaCosta, from a visual standpoint, did a good job. I would definitely be interested in seeing what she does after this. She has a good eye. She knows how to set up some interesting shots. She knows how to direct quite well. So cinematography directing looks quite good in my opinion. Don't really need to give too much of a synopsis because it really has a lot of a similar feeling to, story-wise, to the original Candyman. So if you're familiar with Candyman, I mean, it's Candyman. But I'll just say, like, it's a new character that it follows. He's an artist, and he starts to get interested in the lore of Candyman because he wants to start doing an art exhibit on it, and then he becomes very much aware of Cabrini Green and kind of goes to where it was, even though it had been torn down at that point. And then Candyman weird things start happening. So, yeah, good concept. Execution, not the biggest on the full-on execution. One of the things I do really enjoy about this film is they use shadow play. Now, if you don't know what shadow play is, it's literally like this puppetry that's done with like cut out pieces of paper. Really interesting, looks beautiful. In this film, it looks very eerie. And that's one of the things I love most about it. The way they backlight it, the style of the shadow play, the way it's, you know, all of the little puppets are designed, works extremely well. Very creepy, very eerie. And I love how they use that to kind of fill in some like backstory aspects of the film. Kind of makes me want like an entire film in shadow play, to be honest. It just looks so interesting and cool. So I love that they use that in the film. The opening credits music is terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. It's annoying, it's repetitive, and they bring the song back one more time later on in the film. It is garbage. I don't think I've ever said that about a song in a film, but it is awful. I could not stop. Like, I literally was about to take my headphones off because I was watching on my laptop with my headphones in. I was literally going to take my headphones off and wait until the opening credits were done and then put them back in because that song is so bad. It is the most simplistic garbage done at the same pace. It's enough to drive you mad. I don't know if that's the intent of it, but for shame. I mean, choosing that song was just, oh my gosh. I don't know what they were thinking. It was terrible. They use the cityscape in this that they kind of pan over, much like in the beginning of the original Candyman, but that was kind of from above. This is actually from below, which I think is supposed to kind of have a bit of like a societal positioning meaning to it for the main character and other characters within the film. So I do like the kind of meaning behind it. It also just looks kind of cool, and it's also kind of cool because it's the inverse of what was going on with the original Candyman, so that's kind of like a cool concept. So it looked good. It looked good. I like that they incorporate the original film into the backstory, which I already talked about them doing. I think they did it in a good way. It sets up an interesting concept, so I like that about it. They changed the origin of one of the. I'm not going to go into it too much, but initially you believe that they're changing the origin of Candyman, and it's not nearly as good. But stick with it because they're not really doing that, and you'll see what I mean by that. I'm trying to say this as carefully as possible because I don't want to give something important about the film away. I don't want to do that. So yeah, just stick with it. Initially, I was kind of like, I don't really like that they're changing the origin of Candyman here. It's kind of dumb. And then I understood what they were trying to do. I was like, oh, okay, okay, okay. Again, it looks good. The cast did quite a good job. No problems with the acting. Everyone brought their A game for the acting aspect of it. You like some characters more than others, but hey, that's what's going to happen in film. There is some dialogue that seems kind of odd and kind of out of nowhere at times. And this goes to another issue. So not only are there these kind of like weird moments of dialogue that seem like either they skipped some other dialogue or they just come out of nowhere and they don't make sense for characters or the conversation, but there's also like moments in the film that seem like you're missing a portion of the film prior to it. And you're like, how do we get to this point? We feel like we need some more like groundwork laid in order to get to this. So I don't really understand some of those choices. I don't know if it was a situation where the film was longer and then they had to cut a few portions out and they just didn't do the best job of like selecting where they needed to cut out because it left these kind of what feels like gaps in the film. But I don't know. I mean, that's just my feeling. But you can let me know in the comments if you felt the same way. There's a personality turn in the main character that takes him in a much different direction that I wasn't really a fan of. I understood the purpose of it, but I just wasn't a big fan of it. So I liked the character more initially, and then the character becomes not as interesting to me. But once again, the acting was well done. There are things that happen where you feel like a scene or two was snipped out because it seems like it took a bit of a leap. Yeah, I kind of already talked about that, how you're just literally like, wait, how did we get here? Like, what is going on? A bit after an hour into the film, there's an interesting twist, which I did like. Piqued my interest up even more, perked me up watching the film even more. I was like, okay, this is an interesting twist to it. So there were some really good ideas. There really were some really good ideas. I just thought execution-wise, it felt choppy. And I will also say that the ending, I get the point of the ending, but the way it was executed made me feel very about it, unfortunately. So it's a mixed bag. It really is kind of a mixed bag for me. What was subtext in the original film is really in your face and on the nose in this film, which kind of is what Jordan Peele does. Let's be honest. He does a lot of that. And it kind of actually does make sense as far as like societal change goes, because I think it's kind of important because back when the original Candyman was made, you kind of had to make a lot of that stuff that was racially charged or about, racial issues. You had to make it subtext because it wasn't as societally, I don't want to say acceptable, but people weren't as out in the open and talking about it and pushing it as much as today. So I think it makes sense from that standpoint for things to be more overt in films like this. So for that reason, I don't really have a problem with it not being subtext. So where some people I feel like were very upset with the fact that it wasn't subtextual like it was in the original Candyman, I think it makes sense for it not to be in this one, and I was totally fine with it. Just saying. There's a point in this film that the more things change, the more they end up staying the same. Unfortunately, very unfortunately, and I think that was a point of the film. They did get the point across, but I think it ends up being one of those things where it's like, great idea, great concept, I see what you're going for. It served the purpose of getting the metaphor there and what you were trying to say, but did it make the best film that you could have with delivering that message? Kind of like the film Titane. You know, same thing with Titane. Like, achieved something wonderful in what it was trying to do and how it was trying to be a giant metaphor. But as an entertaining film, was it entertaining enough? I don't really think so. So this film, I think, kind of does a little bit of that. Although I definitely like Titane more than this film. But it wasn't a terrible film. I don't hate the film at all. Like I said, I'd be interested to see what DaCosta does after this. So out of 5 stars with half stars in play, I would give the newer Candyman 3 stars. That is all I can give it. I was between 2.5 and 3, but there's enough good stuff there for me to throw it at a 3. Now, go ahead and put your comments. You know, we can do spoilers in the comments. Go ahead. Love it, hate it, in between. Let me know. But give me like a sentence or two letting me know why. I don't just want loved it, hate it, and that's it. I want a little bit of an explanation. Not, you know, we don't need too much, but a little bit. Do me a quick favor, also hit subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I would really appreciate that. It is quick, painless, costs you no money, and it keeps me motivated. It literally keeps me motivated to keep doing these videos, and I appreciate it. Also hit the notification bell button because then you'll know when I'm putting up new videos, which I'm doing for a week at this point, which I think is a good amount. Regardless though, thanks for checking out this particular video, and until next time, keep it brutal.